Howdy mates, good morning, how are we all doing? It is Sunday, August 1st, 2021. It's a new month. So, I'm over visiting the famous Deer Prairie Creek Preserve. Deer Prairie Creek is essentially a tributary that will eventually lead into the Myakka River, or River, I should say. So the type of habitat that we are looking at is something called a pine flatwood, or flatwoods. Mostly mesic, meaning that the moisture content of the soil is about kind of in the middle, you could say. And that's the reason because, since our main soil type that is here is mostly sand, with a little bit of silt, but mostly sand. So that makes it very prone for this area to experience rapid infiltration, in terms of water that immediately drains down into the soil. So sometimes even after a heavy rain, it may look like the next day that it didn't even rain here. But you figure with it now being in the wet season, you are a bit more bound to find more puddles of water. And that's just the case because usually with any type of soil, there's an infiltration capacity, which essentially means that the soil can only take so much water. So any excess water, you have a result of having a puddle. That's how it works. But they call this a flatwoods because of how flat the landscape is. I mean, you can literally see as far as the eye can go. And you might be wondering, why is it so flat? Well, think of it this way. Florida is essentially one big peninsula, right? So, due to past changes in the level of, water level from the Gulf and the Atlantic, you figure where I'm standing, this at one point could have been part of a beach or was even underwater at one point. So due to those changing water levels in our oceans, that's how we have a result of this land. Flatwoods are essentially grouped under a particular classification of coastal lowlands, because you figure our elevation, we're not that much higher than the actual water level itself, how it is right now. But we are slightly more inland. So you actually find a lot more of these types of habitats, especially in central Florida. But there's all kinds of flatwoods too. You could have a prairie flatwood, where you might have some sparse trees in the area. Or you could even have a pine flatwood, which is where we are right now. Or there may even be grass flatwoods and even flower flatwoods too. So it just really depends where you are. So using deductive reasoning, since there are quite a bit of slash pines, it's reasonable to say that probably fires here may only happen once every 5 to 10 years. So they don't happen very frequently. Because if they did, there would actually be less trees here. But then some of you may also know that our slash pines, for instance, are very resistant because of their outer bark, their covering. It forms this sort of a resiny substance. And point in fact, these trees have been used in the past for turpentine production. These guys are very versatile when facing any type of fire. And in the process of a fire, basically any of their leaves, their little needles, I should say, they can disperse. And then eventually it will produce a new pine tree in the process. But then you've also got your saw palmetto, which is another common feature in a pine flatwoods. But these types of habitats are very important, especially for gopher tortoises that I've mentioned before. Even our birds too. Just to name a few, they can include the northern mockingbird, the red cardinals, red-bellied woodpeckers, pileated woodpeckers, and even our endemic bird, the Florida scrub jay. They really like these types of habitats here because, well, you figure, like our saw palmetto, they produce the berries that are actually indeed valuable for our wildlife to survive. But you only figure, a much higher percentage of Florida used to look like this, prior to development, of course. So it's just, that's why this place is a protected preserve, so that, any of the original ecosystems that were in Florida can remain in place. So alrighty, I thought this was some knowledge worth, spreading, because, I just needed a bit of change of scenery, because, I went to the beach yesterday, and unfortunately the red tide seems to be picking up a little bit, because there were quite a bit of dead fish. So it's a bit depressing, actually, just to see all of that death. So sometimes you gotta take it for what it is. And like I said, I want to save that for another video, but I don't want to remain silent about it either, because it is a serious issue, especially down here. So, hope you guys got something of value from this video, and feel free to share this on Facebook or even YouTube if you so desire. Thank you guys for watching, and Journey on a Journey is once again outwards. Take care, folks.